Matthew and I were discussing some of the things about why you discounted on a subconscious level some of the things that have happened, because absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. And he said something very profound. For an Australian, this is heavy duty shit. But he said, I decided to do it, even though it was stupid, I decided to do it. Stupid meaning follow the process, to an intellectually bright guy who's an engineer. And see, you won't. You see, you'll figure out a better way. And he followed the stupid process that works, and has been working for 45 years, 20 some years before when I was doing it, and 22 years since I've been coaching. And he called it. He wasn't trying to be insulting or anything. He says, I just decided to follow it, How did you say it?
Instead of trying to be smart, I would just try to be stupid, shut that part off of my brain, and just do it.
And what happened? He did it. And that's why it's hard for the YouTubers and all the other, because you can't dumb down. You will not believe that it's easy. You can't, you won't. But he put it very succinctly. He just dumbed down and shut off that part of his brain and just follow the steps. You don't need fucking case studies. You have a fucking template. You have a motherfucking script that a fucking monkey can read. That Alex wants a fucking case study because he wants to know the shit behind it, because he's stupid. And that's why he's fucking poor. You don't need any motherfucking case studies. How many fucking times do I have to say? You have the fucking script. I said don't change a fucking word on the script. Not a comma. If it's got misspelled fucking words, send it out misspelled. The last thing you fucking need is a fucking case study. This is why you're fucking poor. This is why the cocksuckers watching this on YouTube are so fucking poor. Sources of capital. My podcast that I have, How to Get the Fucking Money, covers this in greater detail than we're going to cover here. Angel networks, barter, factors, general resources, credit cards, friends, fools, family, government, crowdfunding, and commercial. Commercial meaning commercial banks. Government, the stupidest people on the planet are governments. Where else in America can you buy an ashtray for $600 and a toilet seat for $3,000? The governments here are no smarter. The government in China is no smarter. They're all stupid. They have bureaucrats running the funding, and they overlend and overpay. Friends, fools, and family. Well, there's not much more than I can say to describe friends, fools, and family. Your mother gives you money. Your brother gives you money. You got credit cards. And that's how most deals get initially funded. Factors is, we're not going to discuss factor, but factors is where you take your receivables and you factor them, you borrow against them down the road. Barter, I told you I'm against barter. Well, Jeff's going to do some lawn work for me and I'm going to paint his house. We switch shit like that. Angel networks are not angels. Angels are some of the most sophisticated bottom fishers on the planet, but yet you call them angels because they're not in a formal network of venture capitalists. Crowdfunding, I told you, even though I haven't done crowdfunding yet, that's the only form of this financing that I haven't. There's a book called Bold, B-O-L-D, which is pretty good. I skimmed it, that describes how to crowdfund. But you don't need crowdfunding, and I've said this several times. You only need crowdfunding if you can't find the financial resources other places, but you will find other places, but crowdfunding does exist. Incubators, investment forums, leasing, minorities and women, television, online resources, publications and software, VCs and private equity. Incubators are set up either by big companies or by universities, quite often to fund scientific stuff. I believe Henry has alluded to that at Oxford they have similar things. Investment forums. You can go on television. We watched jokingly the Shark Tank the other day where that idiot got up there and talked to the guys where you pitch for funds. I used to support the University of Texas investment forum where guys would come up and have between 5 and 15 minutes to pitch your idea, and they funded them on the spot. They now have some of these things on television. Leasing, GE, Siemens, a lot of the big companies have leasing entities where you can lease and get your things financed, because rather than have to pay hard cash, you lease them from them. Minorities and women, and I could put one-eyed, one-legged, no-tongue, dwarfs, midgets, cretins. I mean, there's a fun for everybody. There's a fun for everybody. Television, we all know about the television programs now, Shark Tank, etc. Online resources, there's not millions, that's an exaggeration, but there's certainly thousands of online resources where you can find finance. Publications and software. There's more online stuff than there is publications, but in the beginning when I first started it, there was a private equity association where you subscribed once a month and you got a magazine. I don't know if they exist anymore. VCs and private equity. So there's no shortage of places to find finance, but you have to get off your dead ass and do it. Financing internal growth. Organic. That's another way of saying organic. This is not what I recommend because it's a lot easier to buy revenue than it is to create revenue. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Just because you've never bought revenue doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I tell everybody that will listen until I'm blue in the face, the acquisition models are more effective than internal growth. Internal growth is what you've been taught, what your daddy taught you, and what most people teach in universities. As I told you, when I taught university, I used to ask the students, when was the class you ever had on buying a business, when was the class you ever had on selling a business, and when was the class that you ever had on leadership? In the old days, they used to say no, 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 although they do have classes in leadership now. But to the best of my knowledge, they still don't have classes on selling and buying companies. Why they don't have businesses on or classes on buying and selling companies, I can't tell you. I don't know. But they don't. And even the classes on leadership are few and far between, other than at the academies, the military academies. And the three most important things an entrepreneur needs to know is how to buy a company, how to sell a company, and how to lead a company. Yet they're not taught. For you Einsteins in the YouTube arena, I wouldn't mind getting an email about that. Why? The three most important things. Buy, sell, and how to lead a company and lead your people. It hasn't changed in 45 years that I've been around. It's doubtful that it's going to change in the next 45 years. We'll see. Okay. Revenue generation versus cost control, no contest. Revenue generation. You can always buy a bean counter to cut costs. The name of the game is revenue. You can never experience hypergrowth and quantum leaps in business without generating revenue. You've got to be laser beam focused on generating revenue. Peñaism. All managerial performance sins shall always be forgiven during periods of rapidly increasing revenue. What am I saying? When revenue is going like this, you can fix the bottom line. That's another way of saying it. When revenue is flat and you increased the bottom line, that's extraordinary. You got to be a good manager. And Doug did it the Toyota way. Or as they used to say, Toyota. I don't know if they still say Toyota. And that's the operation that he's run the last few years, using the Toyota way. Revenue, top line. When Klaus was running Siemens and when he runs now Alcoa, top line is tied to bonuses across the board to his senior management. Bottom line will follow. My management style is management by storying around. I have 1,000 stories, a million stories, a million vignettes, and I tie my stories, my vignettes to management principles that I've learned that work through QLA. In the beginning, I didn't have any stories because I had no experience. In the beginning, I used Costa Grazzo's stories, Jerry Orman's stories, Jim Newman's stories. And with Grazzos, I got Onassis stories. I have a lot of Onassis stories because Mr. Grazzos was with Onassis for 60 plus years. In the beginning, you won't have any stories. You'll have your dream team. And that's why your dream team needs to have balding heads and gray hair, or both. If they don't have any balding heads and gray hair, that means they're probably not senior enough. Now, there is the odd person that's got jet black hair, not even dyed, that is a senior person. That's not too often. But I'm sure that one of you will bring it up, so I'm going to kill that now, okay? They don't have to have gray hair, and they don't have to have balding heads if they're 50 fucking years old. The most important thing is they have experience, meaning that they have scar tissue. I say often, I think there's 3 million pores in the human body, and I've been fucked in every one of them at least 3 times in my business career. And as they would say in the Netherlands, not in a good way. Too many companies try to fix rather than drop things. Let's reorganize to save the situation is their way of life. Most of you guys and Rose and the people listening to on YouTube want to fix it. As opposed to cutting out the cancer, you want to try to fix it. And my experience in almost 50 years of doing this, it's better to cut out the cancer, and sometimes amputate the leg, amputate the arm. And it's a sad commentary, because when you're the one cutting, it's not easy. I've cut so much now. I'm not saying that I'm jaded to it, because if you get jaded to it, then you should stop doing it. But remember, structure follows strategy. Marketing. This is not a marketing seminar. I am not a marketing guru. But Entrepreneur Magazine, in their infinite wisdom a number of years ago, picked me as one of the top 20 marketers on the planet. And I remember being interviewed by the young woman that's writing the article, and I said, why? I make fun of marketing guys. He says, what's your definition of a marketer? And she said, our criteria was taking something, creating something from nothing, and selling it. Well, you got the right man then, because I did that. And I've done that multiple times, and I've done it over my coaching career. So the marketing section of this seminar is small, and I'm not going to share it with the YouTubers, but it's basically finding a niche, finding a need, and filling it. And that's it. And testing. The good thing about the internet now is that you can test marketing ideas instantaneously. You can test them instantaneously. But the theory of test small and roll out big, you've heard that, right? Test small and roll out big is a load of shite. Because if that were true, all the marketing guys would be the billionaires on Forbes' list. All the marketing guys would be billionaires on Forbes' list, and they're not. Because there's such things as statistical anomalies. And testing small and rolling out big works depending on the market, depending on the product. But you go to marketing seminars and buy the MP3s and the DVDs, etc., thinking that test small and roll out big. Okay, YouTube, we'll be closing later tonight. Thank you.